What's good, Bod Rap Pod listeners? It's your boy, Dim1, government name Damone Carter, here to tell you why you should most definitely subscribe to the Bod Rap Pod Patreon. If you're anywhere near my age bracket, you're probably saying to yourself, what the fuck is a Patreon? Alright, that's a fair question. Patreon is a platform where we post exclusive content for folks who subscribe. For example, a $5 a month subscription gets you access to Nate LeBlanc's fake radio show, Fly Sporadic, my weekly Spotify playlist series, Dim's Gems, Patreon-only album review segments, and so much more. Right now, there is over 90 hours of content on our Patreon just waiting for you to slide through. You can interact with us and other subscribers. It's like a cool-ass members-only club feel without the Twitter weirdos and goofy discourse. So do yourself and us a favor and subscribe to the Bod Rap Pod Patreon. All this fly shit for just $5 a month. Exclusively yours. Go to patreon.com/dadbodrappod. That's patreon.com/dadbodrappod. Peace.
Stony Island Audio.
And now, it's time for the Bod Rap Pod with your hosts, Damone Carter, David Ma, and Nate LeBlanc.
Three underground rap nerds walked into a bar. An argument ensued about who the GOATs are. The seed was a thought that would turn into a pod. Now fans worldwide say, not a bad job, the ad hoc gab squad who chronicles the vanguard of hip-hop at large. Rap taste slacked off, don't need to be mad, dog. Look no further, it's the Bod Rap Pod.
Podcasting live from San Jose, California. It's the Bod Rap Pod. My name is Damone Carter, aka Dim1. I'm the rapper. He's the producer. Nate LeBlanc, what's happening?
Oh, just living life, thinking about next week's episode and already trying to make jokes about it. I think I'm going to do it on the Patreon. We've talked like very loosely about what if we made a record that reflects the sensibilities of the show someday, but like all my ideas are puns.
Pretty much.
It's like Masai would have a song featuring Masai Bay where he plays Masai's Bay.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Like that to me would be a good song. But
big pun over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that's why this will never happen. It's like you can't have like that doesn't actually that's not how you make good songs.
Prince Paul has gone very far on inside jokes. So I think we should definitely draw on that inspiration. And we also have the ambitions of the writer.
Nice.
David Ma, what's happening?
Hey, doing good, you guys. It's been a fucking hot ass week in the Bay, so good to see you guys. I'm glad we're not in the same room.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
sweating.
not gonna play with y'all. The summertime podcasting, because I don't have AC and you can't run a fan while you podcast. Let's just say I hit the showers after this. It's like I played a pickup game. Yeah,
Gonna have some orange slices.
Yeah,
I remember the
stretch.
Episode where we interviewed Ant from Atmosphere.
Oh
It was
my
actually
God.
at Damone's pad, and it was
That's
just hot as fuck that day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Like that.
Yes,
that was my takeaway from the interview. You know.
Exactly.
I remember. Yeah, exactly. I remember very little about talking to him and a lot about like trying to peel out of that chair.
Heat exhaustion. But that's, we podcast. We podcast through all of the climate disasters. And we're glad that you keep tapping in here with the Bod Rap Pod. The topic that we'd like to broach today is not necessarily related to our interview guest. I want to make that clear off top. Not necessarily, Nate. Nate gave me a wavy hand of like, that's cap.
Isn't it kind of? But
a little bit.
Yeah, they'll see when we get there.
It's slightly addressed in the interview as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be addressed in the interview. But I don't want people to come away going, they just think ELUCID's Cryptic. Like, no. But we'll see what you think after this. So I did start to think about rap songs that I love that I do not understand the lyrics. And we'll get into some of our favorites, and actually the folks on Twitter chimed in with some. But where I want to begin is posing this to both of y'all, is how important is somebody kicking comprehensible, understandable lyrics to you in terms of a rap song, Nate LeBlanc?
It's the goalposts move on this. It really depends what kind of artist you are.
Right.
If you're trying to do some kind of Joyner Lucas-y, addressing an issue, or like a Brother Ali, describing the world's
Messenger,
ills, and I don't understand what you're saying, then what's the point? But I love Aesop Rock.
Right.
You know, it's just like one of the first rap records I ever bought with my own money was a Shapeshifters 12-inch. Like, I understand what they were saying. Like, kind of yes, kind of no. I'm a very arrogant listener in the way that I always have my own meaning for it. I wouldn't listen to anyone who I just thought it was gibberish. Like, if it was just straight up nonsensical, but in English, I can't listen to that for hours and hours and base my life as a music appreciator about that. But I do like abstract lyrics.
Okay. Ooh, fine line.
I grew up listening to Bob Dylan. You know, I have a pretty wide range for what I'll take as what makes sense. And making sense is not so important as evoking a feeling.
Right. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, when I was really young, and even someone like Posthenous's verses, I'm like, it was hard to sort of make the continuity there, and sort of see what he was saying. And it really depends on the type of song that you're going for. Is it Slick Rick telling a story? Well, you want things to be detailed and linear, But if not, then it's, I mean, for lack of a better word, just catching a vibe. It's the imagery that it creates, and not everything needs to be like a Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan perfectly realized sentence. You know what I mean? To me, it can just be verbal ballistics, a la Ghostface.
Right. Ghostface is the perfect wedge on this because one, we're going to talk about Supreme Clientele someday, and we'll get more into this. But two, it's a little over discussed how little it makes sense at this point. Like, I was just listening to it again. Nutmeg, verbal ballistics.
Totally.
Some of the other songs whose names are escaping me at the moment are fairly straightforward.
Totally. Child's Play, for instance, is sort of linear.
Excellent.
He's using imagery of like, being sick as a kid and stuff. So that makes sense.
I don't know. When he says season they broth, when I'm making fun, I'm just like, I find that very straightforward. And
break some Chico sticks in this broth. What about you, Damone? As a rapper, I feel like you always have a different level of what you need from people than we do as just more like fans.
Kind of. I mean, my basic take on this is that rap is whatever you can get away with. So if you can get away with being like wild cryptic and like it works for you, great. Being able to comprehend something isn't necessarily a non-starter for me. But it's all in how you get it across. It's kind of like Das Effects, I think, is a great example of the far end of just gibberish. I mean, flavorful gibberish.
If it's kiggity comprehensive, or
I diggity didn't understand what they were talking about, but no, I kind of feel like that in particular, and I hold that up because the thing they were doing, their most nonsensical vocalese, became a thing for like a while, right? Like people latched onto it, and I think rap at its essence is fly talking. So whether or not that creates a linear narrative is not as important. Now, I do think the thing that irks me is when somebody's trying to mask their lack of storytelling ability or ability to communicate in the gibberish, right? Like you're trying to make
when they get as they call super scientifical.
Yeah, exactly. When it gets super for no good reason, I'm like, you're kind of using this in a way that is you're trying to front, like you're saying something really deep, but really it's just word salad.
Fake deep is brutal, and like a lot of the music that gets sent to us by hobbyists, not only is poorly recorded, but is so fake deep in a way that like it's like it cannot be listened to.
I applaud you for trying, though.
Get this away from me. Like that line was you thought so hard about that line, and it does not land at all. Like
totally. There's also something to be said for just clarity too. Some rappers who just rap fucking fast, but like a Micah 9, for example. Sometimes I'm like, you're not exactly sure what wavelength he's on, but it
Yeah.
sounds dope. And like Nate said, it evokes a feeling, you know. But Micah, I mean, once you read his lyrics, sometimes they make fucking great sense. Sometimes just too abstract, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
But it sounds terrific, and the energy's there.
I want to bring in someone who makes crystal clear, perfect sense at times, and who definitely is abstract at times, and see where he fits into this conversation for you guys. And that is one of the dawns of abstract rap, Kool Keith.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
Kool Keith at his best is witty, irreverent, nonsensical. It's the best type of non sequitur. Kool Keith at his not best it's like, oh, you didn't get away with that. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what this is, and I know kind of what you're trying to do and what you've done. But there have been some latter day verses where I'm like, I don't know if you got away with that.
Those are just words. Yeah.
Right.
It's like
Those are just words.
You never could. It's I forget who says it. You'll correct me. It's a famous line. He's like, you can go off beat on purpose. It's Dell. If you can go off beat on purpose, but you have to come back on beat, or else it isn't worth it.
Worthless. Yeah, it's worthless. Yeah.
It's the same with abstraction, and like, is what's this song about? Is it about words floating in the ether of the beat? Is it? Are you trying to give us some kind of narrative? What's the structure? And I actually think it's in a good way represented in Sir Menelik, who was Kool Keith at one time's kind of like protege, and it's like taking the Kool Keith ethos and taking it even further into kind of a backpacky realm where it's like these you just have to surrender to the flow of the words, like, and come up with your own meanings, because these songs aren't about anything seemingly, you know what I mean? In a good way. I really respect him.
Oh, absolutely.
Kool Keith, obviously. Sir Menelik. I don't know if you guys saw this. They're coming out with ultramagnetic shoes.
What?
Oh, I saw your post about that. Yeah,
they're Ewings. You know Ewings, Dave? They're like those really chunky high tops.
Yeah.
They have a version called the Rogue. It's one of their standard models. They did a big L shoe, which like that kind of, it's like just black and white.
I think I saw that online.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they have these ultramagnetic. They're not Kool Keith shoes. They're
ultramagnetic shoes.
Yeah.
Man, that's critical footwear.
If you wear them, you'll be traveling at the speed of thought.
Oh wow.
What's it called?
Oh man.
I can't do it because it has a monogrammed pattern all over, and they remind me too much of those hoodies that people used to wear with like Cookie Monster and ecstasy pills.
Oh, I see. I see.
But they're so cool, and the box actually is sick. It's like a flip of the cover, and trust me, my cursor hovered over add to cart for a long time.
Your hand shook. Yeah. His hand trembled.
It's like Pookie in New Jack City.
Exactly. To go with your So Hot It Hurts t-shirt. Come on.
Another person I'd like to bring up in this conversation, and only because I read an article where he specifically addresses it, and he's not a hip hop person, but it's Beck. Like, I happen to be a big fan of early Beck, like especially his like singer-songwritery acoustic stuff on like One Foot in the Grave. And he did this big interview when he divorced his wife, and he had to like kind of come out as not a Scientologist. Do you guys remember this?
Oh, I don't. That's
his wife is a Scientologist, a lifelong Scientologist. She's in the Ribisi family. They're actors, and they've been Scientologists since like the beginning of Scientology or whatever. So he needed to clarify, now that he wasn't in this marriage anymore, that he was never a Scientologist. He was just married to this woman. And in that interview, I think it was in Rolling Stone, they talked about his lyrics and how they kind of went from not making sense to making more sense. And he said this thing, and it was basically like, he's like, all my early reviews, they were just saying like my lyrics are gibberish. And he's like, I worked on that gibberish for 3 hours. Like, it has very specific meaning for me. Just because you don't understand like what I meant by, you know,
get funky with the cheese whiz. Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, exactly.
And so I'm a person who really likes that era of his career, and always thought that they evoked feelings, and mostly of kind of like a slackery decline of Western civilization, like everything sucks, but let's laugh at it rather than despair, kind of like Gen X-y, like, you know, you guys
Very
have heard
Gen X-y.
loser. You understand
Mhm.
you understand the term. That's the catchy version of it. There's a lot of things that are less catchy about it. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because it reminded me of some rappers. It was like they're like, nah, dude, I wrote that verse for 3 months. Like every syllable was decided.
Means something.
Yeah, it all means something to them. So I've always kind of been like, oh, poor Beck, you know?
Yeah, to get lumped in as being something that and Beck kind of, that's a good example because he borrows from a lot of rap sensibilities in the sense that he was doing a fly white guy kind of talk, right? Like it's a form of talk and it's a language. And I know when I listen to stuff that is quote unquote cryptic, I also just look for the consistencies in it. So if you listen, Billy Woods, I don't always understand what's going on, but the wordplay and the imagery all comes from a set of places, right? Like he doesn't just drop things on you. It's like it's within the context.
I actually kind of wish we had asked ELUCID about this now, but when Woods comes in on the ELUCID album and he's like, muff diving, no snorkel. It was so unexpected, dude. Like, if he had said it in the middle of a verse, I don't think it would have even caught my ear at all. But to jump into the deep end, pun
He's
fully intended on that one, it was so funny, dude. That
So
really
deliberate.
caught me.
And just purely relatable. That's what I'm talking about. Some people
Relatable music.
speak with a clarity that I understand.
Yes. First entrance of the year.
Let's look a little bit at some of our I post this question on Twitter. What are some rap songs that you love yet you don't understand? And it's like it's 80% Lucchini right now. So Dave, What are you a Camp Low guy? And what did you ever make? I have a take here, but I want to hear yours. What did you make of Camp Low?
I like Camp Low. I mean, for them, they have swag, and for them, I mean, if you're listening to words as sound, like rhythmically, they're fucking dope. I think they have a lot of presence. But after a while, they're just talking about champagne bubbles. You know what I mean?
Right.
The words end up becoming hollow. I think is what ends up happening with them. I mean, it's not something you rewind, but I mean, you rewind it for like the bump factor. You know, I think they, to use your verbiage. I mean, they make bops to me. You know.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
So.
No, so you're saying Casanova Brown, Levitating Jiggy and the Shiggies, and LA Hada, Car 54 chasing Diamond Queen runners.
See, it's like their whole thing is like it's a movie, and like the movie takes place inside that painting, the Sugar Shack, on the cover. And it's like if you tell me that, and they fully tell you that, it's very cinematic, especially their first album, which is their classic album, and they have some other good stuff. But I think I've told this story on the pod before, so I'll keep it short. But like they were making a comeback at one point, I think with that song Lumdy. Do you guys know that song? Yeah. I happen to be a fan of that song. It's a cool way they use the Smokey Robinson is really cool. I guess I shouldn't say that. Everyone knows that. Anyway, we were talking to one of our friends, and I think it was Cutso. He was like, "Oh yeah, Camp Low's coming back," and I heard the new song. It's like pretty catchy. And it was our friend Veronica. She's just like, "Oh no, are they going to start making sense now?"
Never. Yeah.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, it's like you brought up DOS Effects earlier. It's like people didn't like him as much when they stopped doing the Iggity. Like the whole thing is like, what is your intention? It's like, are you just going to give us 7 blaxploitation movies if you're Camp Low, or do you want to try something different? Like you have to bring the audience along, right? But they're not like switching it up and doing like Public Enemy, like
no, but I kind of feel like the approach is almost very similar to Wu-Tang in the sense that this fragmented painting of a picture, right? I think that's perfect. On Uptown Saturday Night, they're literally describing scenes from blaxploitation flicks, but in the William S. Burroughs cut out the fucking words and like put them all together in some fly shit, and it's not meant to be absorbed as like a linear kind of narrative. And in some things, that's great. I listen to not only Ghost, but Raekwon sometimes will just jump from subject to subject. But if you're like, this is all one picture that he's painting, it kind of makes sense. Dave, you brought up Posthumous, which I think to me is maybe the king of Cryptic, him and Dave. Do you feel like De La Soul's legacy is impacted by the fact that a lot of their stuff can be like inaccessible. Stakes is high, notwithstanding when they kind of came down from the mountain. But their earlier work is very cryptic. Do you think that that impacts their kind of legacy and how people perceive their work?
I think it does impact how people perceive their work, but I don't think it's negatively. For me personally, if anything, it adds a sort of sense of mystique. I mean, if you listen to what they're doing, and then once you do sort of understand it, they were just simply advanced.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Very much.
I mean, just Posthumous is just a brilliant writer, but I'm saying you put on music for sort of what you're looking for. So sometimes you don't want some challenging shit. Sometimes you just want some fucking bangers, you know? So, but yeah, to answer your question, no, I think if anything, it has probably helped because they're fucking wise.
Yeah.
My only quick take on that is like when you hear normal people talk about De La Soul, they often talk about how many samples they used. You know what I mean? Like people tend to focus on the music a little bit more because the music is very accessible. It's taking from all this AM radio golden era kind of thing, and like you can really get behind that sample. Did you really understand what the verse was? Maybe perhaps not, unless you put some investment.
Do you know that the ultimate joint in that bucket of like normal non-rap people liking a song, but you know they have no idea what's going on, is Diggable Planet's Cool Like That, which I did one time at a karaoke night. And it's like I feel like I know the words to that song, and this is what karaoke does to you. When you see it printed, like, we like the breeze flow straight out of our lids. Well, like what? Our funk zooms like a Hitler Mary Jane. You're like, what the fuck? Which in some ways really makes it even more amazing that when artists are able to cross over big time, and you knew that not one person in a coffee shop understood what the fuck Butterfly was talking about. But I feel like there is, especially with rock music, sometimes there is this level of mystique, right? That rap, people are used to rap being so straightforward that when it comes across as cryptic, sometimes they just don't know what to do with it.
I think about this a lot in terms of like the recent court cases where they're using lyrics against people. Like I was thinking the other day about how much we all know about the 6ix9ine case because we like Sean Sotero. You know what I mean? Like I read the book, I listened to the podcast. It's like I heard about all the blickies and stuff. Like I never would have known what a blicky was, except for they're like describing it in these court documents, and I'm reading it with rapt attention. You know what I mean? It's just like there's an attempt to use slang and not inside jokes, but coded language, gang kind of signifying language to be to not end up on the stand, right? So they won't know exactly what you're talking about. And then somebody gets up there and just tells you what everything means, and they're like, oh, then you just confessed to murder.
Right. Yeah, all the dots come together, which is a whole. We got to do a crime and hip hop episode. We got to bring Sotero back on because there are some scary ass cases that are coming to light of rap lyrics being used against rappers.
Absurd.
Yeah, kind of ridiculous. But that is another topic for another day. Like I said at the top, we're gonna have a conversation about cryptic rap lyrics that may or may not relate to the interview that we have lined up with.
Before you go on, I have to be a semantic dickhead for a second.
Sure.
Do you use cryptic and abstract?
I use cryptic to say
of each other?
Cryptic is cryptic to me means I don't know. It's a code and I don't know what you're talking about.
You're sure they know, but you don't necessarily know.
That's it's cryptic in the sense they're communicating something that I don't understand. Abstract to me is a little bit more like I'm taking something that makes sense and I'm twisting it.
No one could know.
Kind of, yeah. Like it's an abstraction. Like we're taking it. I would say maybe a Divine Styler fits in that thing. Definitely some of Q-Tip's stuff. Not whole songs, but like bar for bar. Sometimes it's like you're literally being abstract in the way that you talk and move through the rap. So that's the distinction I make. I think our next guest is both at different times, and also. Here's another buzzword, psychedelic. So now listen to the interview and see what we mean. ELUCID on Bod Rap Pod. Dad Bod Rap Pod. Every week we talk to people who are moving and shaping hip hop culture. This week is no different. We have joining us in Zoom, ELUCID. What's happening, man?
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Just living, basking in the glow of your amazing new album, man. Thank you so much for giving that to the world. First question is, I Told Bessie, when did it start? What is like the origins of it? Was it a collection of songs that you had, or was it a thought that this is going to be my new album and now I go build the songs? Kind of talk us through the origins of this new work.
Yeah, I think what year are we in? We're in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometime maybe the top of 2020, like before pandemic, which is like, you should do a solo record. You should do a solo record. There's a lot happening. There's crazy momentum. You should do a solo record. So I had the idea from 2020. And then everything got really busy that year for us. Everything got really busy. And we started on tour. And he was like, yo, you need to do a solo record. You need to do a solo record. Like, there's a lot happening. You should just really just do the thing. And I was like, yeah, I should. And I didn't do anything for another year. Anything for a whole other year. And,
I feel seen by that comment.
I'm a procrastinator for certain. You know, but I think I was just kind of like maybe working it out and like what I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of different versions of like what, you know, it came to pass to be. But yeah, I think it was like self-produced kind of things that I was doing at first, and scrapped those once I started getting beats from like Child Actor, Seb Bash, via Alchemist. And it was just like, yo, fuck that. I just want to rap. I don't really want to like, you know, do the double time duty. Like sometimes you can make a track and make a beat and you listen to it for 3 hours and then it's just like, well, I'm numb right now. This is all I've heard. You know, I don't know where to go lyrically. I can step into a different kind of like mind space to start writing. So yeah, that's never really worked out too well for me. So I just kind of went the path of least resistance. You know, I was getting so much fire and it was just like, damn, I could just pick. And then it just, I don't know, I think once I actually started, it was pretty quick, maybe 9 months.
Okay.
And then 9 months of just kind of writing and then just walking in with Willie Green, and we knocked it out in 3 4 or 5 hour sessions. So 12 to 15 hours of recording. Yeah.
That's dope, man. Well, you know, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the beats on here because I mean, besides the incredible writing, your writing prowess that we've become accustomed to. I mean, the beats on here, Child Actor, Kenny Siegel, Alchemist, August Manone. I mean, let us in a little bit on your beat picking process and sort of what goes through your mind and what sort of considerations did you take for this album specifically?
It's there's no real process, to be honest.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think if people are familiar with like ELUCID solo material, the sounds are pretty far reaching. And I'm not afraid to like really kind of stretch maybe to like the edge of like, I don't know if I could even listen to this anymore. Is this actual music? I kind of like that space. But I think here, I was like, well, I've done that already. I don't want to do the same thing again because I also love these type of beats, right? I definitely wanted to like, I don't know. I feel like what I've done in the past or whatever, you know, labels and tags or like whatever, I don't really care about. When I read reviews of other people's music, I was like, how come nobody ever says my music is psychedelic? I'm making some of the most psychedelic music out there. No one ever like said that. So I was like, all right, you know, with these beats, like especially with Child Actors things, like I feel like it gives a soft kind of psychedelic. It's a really nice intro into, you know, if I would just do a whole record with Child Actor, it would start like that and just go way deeper. I feel like, but like what's presented here is like very palatable. It's very sweet. It's tricky enough to start looping things up in your brain, but yeah, I think it's really just initial feelings like dealing with beats. Seb Bash hit me with like a super stupid pack, like 30 beats every time he hit me. I don't know, something about the way he, honestly, I first saw him on Instagram. So seeing how he like started like flipping beats on Instagram and like, it's all like a lot of guys use Ableton and you're able to do like these like little tricks, computer wizardry, but he does it by hand. Like, he'll just start lifting up the needle to the groove, or he'll just start like fiddling, and it's just like, oh, we need that. Like, that's what I like. So yeah, just little kind of things he's tucking in his beats. But all these, like, thinking about another one, the song Smile Lines that August Fanon did, which is like a late addition to the record. Woods had sent me 2 beats. August Fanon also sends us beats regularly. And I don't know, I missed this one. I missed this particular email. There were 2 beats. He said, yo, you should rap to one of these. You should rap to this one. But I heard the 2 beats and I was like, no, that's not the one. And I chose the other one, which became Smile Lines. We have different ears. We have different ears for beats. And it's cool to be in like a solo process where I don't have to convince someone that a beat is dope. You know what I mean? I don't have to like present why I think this is what we should be doing. So this is completely just like my taste and my sensibilities where I'm at right now.
Yeah. I want to comment on one thing you said, and then I have a question. As someone who thinks and writes and talks about your work a little bit, not as much as I would like to, I think people use the term experimental rather than psychedelic when they could. There's a lot of bridge between those two things, like your earlier solo stuff. You know what I mean? Like when it starts to dissolve, you could either see that as like a trip moment or like just is this music thing, like you said. It's an interesting line. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time. Okay, onto the question part. Apologies if you've had to answer this many times during the press run, but like, did you feel pressure to level up or do something different coming off of Haram and Alk and festival dates and just having a slightly higher profile now?
Not until the record was done. Not until maybe a week before the record came out. I didn't feel any kind of anxiety. I was just kind of creating and no one knew. You know what I mean? No one knew. I was just like in and out of different cities. And like whenever I got some downtime, I was writing these songs, usually when I get back home. And no one knew. I had no idea. And I like that space. I don't want to let so much doubt enter like the creative zone. You know what I mean? I just go for it. I don't know. I think I recorded maybe something like maybe 20 some odd songs, record them all, and then just pick the best ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like try to have as little doubt as possible during the creation and then let all that, Woods helps me with that, the sequencing and choosing, the best joints. There'll be a couple ones he was like, I don't think this should be on here. And I was like, I'm going to bat for this song. Like, this is absolutely gonna stay. For like a record like Split Tone. I don't think he understood, but I think within the context of the record, I always knew like I wanted a record like that on there because originally the record kind of started in that vein. Like that's where I kind of wanted to go. I wanted a softer, quieter record. I think I mentioned that last time I spoke with y'all. And he was like, what can we expect?
Yeah.
The record, and he was like, it's gonna be something crazy. This world's burning up and shit. And I was just like, yo, I might want to just kind of like, I don't know, go inside myself a little bit. Let's see like what it feels like. And I think like that vibe has led me down that path. That was one of the first songs that was, that Child Actor we had finished. One of the top 3. So yeah.
Awesome. So certain listeners, pundits, myself, have talked about sometimes your lyrics being inaccessible or not being able to comprehend them. Is that something that you care about as a writer, how it lands, and or see that's a no. And does it or do you write stuff and be like, how are y'all not getting this? Like it's not that is it one of those things?
I think it's both. I think it's both, but I don't particularly care. I think this kind of goes back to the trying not to allow doubt into like that creative process, right? I think, in songs, there are lines that immediately jump out at you for whatever reason. It's just that clear. Yep. Then there are lines that don't because you don't know me. You don't know where I came from. You don't know who told me that. You don't know that that's an actual saying that's hundreds of years old. like just got to heaven and I can't sit down. I didn't make that up. That song, that line is a blues song. That line is a gospel song. Everybody's great grandmother who's Black American in this country, like, they know that line. You know what I'm saying? So there's like a whole lineage of things that people may not be exposed to. They're not up on. So that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. It's just like, oh, you just didn't know it, and that's cool. But I'm just like here presenting it again because it hasn't been. And I think it maybe deserves to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gonna feel it in the rhythm and the pattern. I get some things. Kind of piggybacking on that, given that, like Nate said, the profile has raised a little bit with Haram. Do you ever get pressure, like external pressure, to be like, hey, if you served up something that was a little more digestible now, you guys would do XYZ? Is that even a thing that comes into your world?
That hasn't happened yet. Beautiful. I think, which is cool because I think because I guess those people who we think might say that, right? Like think about record label people, marketing people, even like live show people, right? Because they would think they would think we're a hard ticket to sell, right? We're not dancing. We have zero production value to our stage shows. It's just two guys, a microphone, and a laptop playing the beats, and we're just rapping on. Like there's no lights, there's no fog. Sometimes there's some video, you know what I'm saying? And there's always someone that can say those sorts of things. But I think that we've made it to wherever we're at, and we're doing things that are like, how are y'all doing this? How are you selling a $50 piece of vinyl? How are people waiting in your merch line for 2 hours? Why are you selling out a city? You don't have an album. Your album's over a year old. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not supposed to happen, but that's kind of the wave we've been on. You know what I mean? And it's just like a testament to, I think, just really staying down and just doing what we wanted to do. And it took a while for us to like really, I don't know, connect with a lot of people, but being out on the shows, on the road this past, I don't know, however long, seeing people that be like, I've been down with you since Rome. It was my first time seeing you. That's fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I remember being in London very recently, and I did spelling. People were like, immediately was just like the hook. And I was like, oh, I might have something. It was the first time I did that song. I might have something with this song. And then we went to Berlin like 2 days later. And I swear to you, they were repeating the chorus.
That's crazy.
It's like they just saw it on YouTube or social media. And it was like, wait, y'all speak a different language. It's the first time I'm doing this song and y'all know the chorus. I was like, this is bugged. This is really bugged out. So I don't know, man. You know, people will say these things. Maybe you should change it. And I was like, it's working. It's working. So why adjust, you know?
That's so dope. It's definitely working for us. I mean, we're big fans. And you mentioned Woods earlier, you know, and his involvement in the sequencing of the album and stuff. And, you know, him being sort of your partner in crime with Armand Hammer, of course, but also just the label chief. Can you give us some insight as to like how he added to this album? And I know he's featured on it a little bit, but just sort of the inner workings of how Woods contributes when it's like not his album.
I think so for me on this record, and this I think as close as maybe Woods has been involved in like a creation of an ELUCID record. So he fielded beats. He showed me some beats from like specific like August Fanon and Kenny Siegel. Obviously like his work with Kenny Siegel with Hiding Places. So when we were out in LA, we linked up with Kenny Siegel, did a couple songs. August Fanon. Again, there's so many August Fanon beats, I just get lost. But he seems to like be up on it. So maybe check this one out. But I think for this record, that was pretty much the extent until it was time to sequence the record. I did all the writing, I picked all the beats, except for those, Kenny Siegel, and also the Alchemist one. He slid the Alchemist one. So Alchemist did a bunch, and he slid that to me. But yeah, the sequencing was really where it was at. just like picking the song and like it should be this flow into it. And I'm like, nah, it should be this flow. So it's real collaborative that way. I think that's probably the spot where it gets more teamwork there.
Nice. Wanted to talk a little bit about the spelling video. I think it was Nelson Mandela.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how did you guys work on that together? Did he come with a treatment? Did you know you wanted that to be the kind of single with the video? Like, how did all that come to be?
Oh, totally. Well, he actually, I believe he chose the song. I sent him the record. He was like, this one is really the one. And I was like, yeah, I thought so too. But yeah, I had been wanting to work with Nelson in like the visual capacity for a long time. Also with like music, I think he's like a super talented producer as well. He's like one of these kind of polymath cats. He does like a whole lot of things. He has a lot of different, he's adept in many disciplines. And for this time, I remember I just kind of like hanging out with him for a little while. We were doing music things. And this is before I even kind of got started with the record. And then I didn't see him for a while. Then I got started working on the record. And then it came time again. I was like, yo, I would love one of these videos. He's always up on Instagram with his, doing his own videos. And I was like, can you do one for me? Like, what if I think about this? There's a park near my house. I had this idea of like, it's a little different from what the idea was. The original idea was like, it's my personal velodrome in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, riding around on my bike. So how are we going to figure this out? You know what I mean? He was like, well, you got the bike already. So that's one thing I need, some motion. And I'll just animate and do it like this. But he kind of like brainstormed it all himself and just did it all in a day. The shooting, whatever. And then he, the animation takes a while. But yeah, he flipped that. He's a super talented person. There will be some more things coming in the future, some visual things. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, great first single. I think the lead single from an album, there's an art to like to picking that, and I think you hit that out the park. I want to ask you a question about your live performance. We were fortunate enough to catch Armand Hammer in San Francisco and then Boise, Idaho, strangely enough. Last year,
sure.
Yeah, back-to-back nights, so I got really in a headspace about the Armand Hammer show. And what I noticed is that in front of both audiences, you don't say the N-word. And I was wondering, is that a choice that you make in all shows, or just when you're like, we're out here in front of these white folks, we're not going to give them that? I know there's certain artists like YG says you can't say the N-word when he says it at his show. Yeah. But y'all just deleted it altogether. And I've just been dying to ask you kind of what the intent and thought process.
Yeah, I respect YG's I respect how YG says it, because it's really up to me. It's really up to like the artist if I'm gonna say this or not. But then, sometimes I'm just kind of in my head, and then sometimes I'm not in my head. But when I'm in my head, like, I don't want to see y'all repeating this. To me, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, so it goes both ways. Sometimes yes, and then sometimes no. Sometimes Woods loves a substitution. He'll substitute neighbor. You know what I mean? He do all kinds of things. But yeah, it's really how I feel that night. And I think being in Idaho,
thank you,
was a no. It was going to be a no. I feel like before we got on stage, like people were just like telling me about all the kind of crazy shit that had been happening in Boise, like not too long before the festival, and it's like white supremacy hotbed, and you know what I mean, all this kind of. And I was like, well, yeah, not tonight.
There was one listener who really appreciated that. Thank
you. There's been some reviews of the record and stuff, and I think some of them are super thoughtful. And I read a few that have been just kind of, let's just say, sort of tepid. And I wanted to firstly see, do you read reviews of your work? And also, if you have, especially for this project, do you feel like people are absorbing it like how you'd want it to come off?
Well, I do read some of the reviews. I often don't ever finish the reviews. So yeah, I kind of don't like a lot of them. But okay. I think I would chalk that up to also, like, I think kind of the way that maybe the record was even like handled with press. Like no one really had it for a while. I feel like it's something, maybe you should have the record for a few months before you have a comment. That's cool. You know what I mean? Or I don't know how that works with like editorial cycles. So if I put a record out tomorrow and then you had the record like the week before, then what were we in June? Maybe you don't say anything about my record until September.
Yeah.
For me, I'd be cool with that. But I don't think that's like a reality in like journalist world. But yeah, I could also get it to them early, but that's not really how Backwoods is really ever done. But,
I think we got this one about 4 hours early. We will very occasionally get it slightly early. I think I got one listen in before it dropped.
But we got Quelly Chris's Death Fame like 2 months before, and I totally agree with you. It made me have a more informed take on it.
Yeah, I think it's just something to sit with. Like it's hard, you know, as writers, y'all know y'all absorb so much music. Y'all digest so much music. And then to like come up with like clear, original thoughts, thought-provoking statements about like an album times however many you're doing in a month, like that shit is tough. That shit is tough. So it's like, yeah, man, people just kind of need time to sit with it. So I don't go so hard on like, oh, this review is whack, this review is poorly written. I might say something like that. It might be poorly written, right? Like structure and lead ups to like grand statements. Like that shit was corny, but I mean, actual statements about the record, like actually absorbing what you think I was thinking when I made this. Sometimes that takes some time. Just sit with a record, you know?
Word. Thank you.
You sound exactly like us. We read everyone else's work too, but you're such a great writer, so it's like it's all writing at the end of the day, right? I'm going to ask you a housekeeping question, but I'm doing it specifically on the air during the interview, so we can say this in front of the listeners and the public as well. How important are the capital letters and the spaces in between the letters in the spelling of your name to you now at this point?
It's important.
Okay.
And it started because I was tired of seeing my name spelled incorrectly. It was always EUCLID, like the Greek geometry guy. It's not, and I don't spell my name in the rhymes. Then everything got like super text based. So like you'd see rappers or any artist's name, see somebody's name on the internet, but not know how to actually say it. And then when you said it in public, it's like weird. And you know, you can say the same thing and 3 different people say it 3 different ways. It's like, well, we're kind of just in this time where it's just like, let's just make it as plain as possible. All caps and a space. So you recognize the 6 individual letters is no, and we still get it wrong. People still get it wrong. So
I feel like Woods has said on some other podcast I listened to, he's like, I'll give him the capitals, but I'm not doing the spaces. like in the Backwoods promo materials and stuff like that. And to be honest, if I look back at how we build you on past episodes, I probably got it wrong too, just because
as long as it's spelled right, really though. As long as it's spelled right. I'm not a Kai Solo. Demands all caps at all times.
Yeah, we got you. It'll be right on this one, and I'll try to go back and fix the other ones. But we want to be respectful, but everyone's name is weird now. You know what I mean? It's like remembering all the little punctuation marks and stuff people throw in their names. It's a lot.
Text world.
Yeah, exactly. Man. Kind of a weird question, but just wanted to know, like, kind of why, and you fully covered it.
Awesome. Weird question number 2, or maybe not weird question. The cover image for I Told Bessie. Can you break that down a little bit and tell us what's happened in that pic, like where it come from?
Oh, that's a family photo. That's a photo of my uncle Everett and the family dog Kimba. It was in Red Hook Projects, and I think the year was like 1980, maybe 79, 80.
Okay.
Everett was my dad's brother. Their mother was Bessie, my grandmother. And I don't know. The record's called I Told Bessie.
Yeah.
She's featured in the album art that y'all will see in the vinyl or whatever. Okay. But it's also like I can't tell Bessie's story without mentioning Everett, who lived with her until the day that he died. Okay. So anytime I would see her, he'd be there as well. but it's like the image itself. I had taken a bunch of photos of Alex Richter, and I really love the photos, but there wasn't anything that I thought was like, all right, this is gonna be my album cover, like a clear cut. I couldn't really make a decision. It's just like looking at photos of myself. It was just fucking weird. So I don't know. I went back home and I was like going through like old pictures and things. And as soon as I saw the photo, it's like the positioning of like the dog and my uncle was just strange. Like who's submissive and who's being dominant here? Kind of like confused. But I know this is Kimba. I know this is Everett. I know they're not like fighting. He's not abusing the dog. You know what I mean? They're just a big German Shepherd just playing with a big dog. And it just made me like, I don't know, there's something about that space where I wasn't sure what was happening. That really clicked for me. And I was like, this is really interesting. And it looks like an album cover to me. It looks like what an album cover. For sure. I kind of knew this was going to be it.
What was Wood's initial reaction? Do you remember?
Oh, he loved it.
Yeah.
He loved it.
Yeah. There's like an animal theme happening with y'all that I'm noticing.
Yeah.
If we go back to Shrines,
and Haram,
right?
Yeah, a lot of people will see that, you know, later on, 10 years down the line. You see it now, but yeah, it's definitely that theme that was kind of like unintentional, but for sure.
That's amazing. I hate to be the person that asked this question, but we never know when we're going to talk to you again. You dropped an amazing album, but what's next? What's coming up?
You have a ton more touring coming? Or are you guys just on an endless tour until the steam runs out?
There's going to be some things this summer.
Okay.
There's dates every month. I'm going to be in LA in August.
Okay.
Oh, word.
Okay.
Yeah, there was like some Northwest things, some Chicago things, some New York things. So
y'all came to the Bay for like 5 minutes. Y'all did like a Bay Area show at 7 o'clock.
That was so confusing. That was so confusing, man, because it's just like, yo, I don't know. I think it was a new venue.
Yeah.
We didn't know that Baby Mother was playing after us. I thought that was kind of weird, like 2 rap shows back to back. Like, how you gonna? So we were just bullshitting. And I think 20 minutes passed, and like we were supposed to be on stage, and they come on like, what, y'all ready to do a show?
Yeah, it's still light outside. Let's do this.
That shit was confusing. I've never rapped like at a venue in the daytime.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. But that show was cool though, because like we had never really like did like Adderall set like that. It was just super manic, high energy. Like, let's cut this song short here. Let's go to this one. I don't know what we're doing next. That shit was actually fun. And then we started kind of like taking elements of that into the shows after. You know what I mean? Like,
interesting.
The Europe run especially is just like, yo, we just cut it. Next shit.
Just keep going.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just to break up the pacing. So we learned that. Y'all were dope that night. I remember that. That was Oakland was tight.
Awesome. Well, we hope we can catch you and or the whole crew coming back through the Bay Area. We love this album. It's gonna be. I'm gonna ask another question. How much do you care about this album of the year thing, which is like a fake thing that we podcaster commenters do?
I was gonna say I'm not a competitive person, but I'm a secretly competitive person.
I don't think you can rap like that.
I want
it.
I want it.
Totally.
You want it.
I know it means nothing outside of my mind, but I still want it. I still want it. I don't know if I've ever been considered in anyone's album of the year discussions at like wherever I'm at right now at this point. I've never been considered. So it's exciting, and God damn it, I want it.
Oh man.
I think I don't know, man. I just feel like between Quelly Chris has a great record.
Yes.
Ethiops, of course.
Great.
My record. Who else, man? There's some.
That's the 3-horse race right now for me.
Some good shit out here. So, but yeah, I'm honored.
It's nice to have it all in the community, kind of. You know, it's
right?
When one of you wins, everybody wins. Everyone's featured on everything. It's
Quelly Chris is a secret member of Armand Hammer.
Yeah.
Get that? Yeah, it's good, man.
Oh man. Okay, that just ratcheted up the pressure like 100% now. We're gonna bring this interview to close so we can start arguing about it. ELUCID, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Man. Appreciate y'all for talking to me. Appreciate y'all talking to like a lot of dope artists out here and like providing this for us to talk about our records. It means everything for real. Appreciate that.
Man.
Thank you so much for saying that. Thanks for joining. And thank you for the music, man. Just incredible. We'll let you go, but let's do this again. I think we've had you on for the last 4 or 5 records. So whenever you are open door policy, whenever you want to talk, let's do it.
All right, y'all.
All right, man. Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
Have a good night.
All right, that was our conversation with ELUCID. Great conversation. I feel like the album of the year thing is gonna be heated. It's gonna be heated. I love that he was honest enough to be like, hey, I care about this.
He doesn't care, but he cares.
Yeah,
we get it.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. Also nice of him to tell us to our face it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it doesn't, but also he wants that shit.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. Right. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to think about. It's at the end of the day, the music exists and people can access it whenever they want, however they want. But just looking at our numbers, people really like lists.
Yeah, they do. Totally.
There's a reason we started adding in the quarterly check-in, the half-year check-in. It's like those numbers they're basically guaranteed to do numbers. If we could rank something every week, the show would be much more popular.
Yeah, people just care about that. It's interesting. It makes for interesting discussion, you know. And ELUCID made for interesting discussion, man. It's always good to fucking connect with that guy, man.
He's so
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's so laid back. I think it's funny to think we used to be kind of scared of him, or I used to be kind of scared of him.
Oh, I was scared of him the first time we talked to him.
The first time we talked to him, I was very much like on like my best behavior and I didn't know what to say. And he's you kind of realize the growl that's in his voice is just, it's not mean, if that makes sense. You guys know what I mean, because we've gotten to know him over the years.
Right. I mean, we were on the same plane with him going to Boise. It was like, what is going on? I mean, for somebody who makes like intense music, I mean, he's so laid back, man. So it's really cool to sort of see that juxtaposition. And, just super insightful in the way he talks about the most normal things. So you can see how that translates to on record.
It has a good kind of outlook on his own music, which I don't know that artists always have. Like you could tell he's an introspective cat. So he's kind of worked out some of these things in his head, and he's also kind of responding to the way people respond to his music. You know, because I know there's some people that are, I don't give a shit what you think about this.
Yeah.
But he does in a way that's really thoughtful and interesting.
And something, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but like since we first talked to him, he's experienced some pretty big success. They played to some big crowds. I'm gonna imagine if the records are $50, made a little bit of money. Like, you know, it's like it's like he's wearing it well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He seems a little more content. He seems a little bit more comfortable in his own skin. And I'm probably projecting. I don't know him like that, but you could tell when he was talking about the tours and the things that they've experienced. Like he's gonna be just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally. It's like it won't be ruinous to blow up, right?
Right. Like when we saw, like I've been thinking about this a ton, Dave, when we saw Action Bronson in 2011.
Yikes.
And we thought he was gonna die.
Totally.
But, like he couldn't finish any of his verses. He was smoking like Cheech and Chong sized joints on stage. And he was still like, I mean, he was probably at his heaviest at that point. He hadn't started his recent workout regimen. He just looked like he was going to keel over.
Totally. The notion of breath control didn't exist.
Yeah,
on that
at that
show.
I mean,
yeah, that's that. But, you know, if you guys are able to check out ELUCID and or Armand Hammer in concert, ELUCID brings such an energy. And like, to me, he's kind of like the hurricane Armand Hammer on
he
stage.
He comes in like a cyclone.
Yeah, exactly. Physically and kind of his vocals and things, it's a sight to behold. So I would encourage you to check out.
And you can understand the words. Like it's just like it sounds dumb, but unless you've been to a lot of hip hop shows and you know that it's really hard to understand what people are saying unless it's like an arena show usually. And even then, depending on where you're sitting, it's just like the fact you can understand their deeply complex verses means that they have their kind of performance thing really locked in.
Absolutely. So we thank ELUCID for coming on the program, and I'm glad I got to ask him the N-word Boise question. Has been sitting on my mind literally for more than a year now.
Yo, Bay Area heads, Bay Area adjacent heads, Northern Californians, it's your boy Dim here. Just wanted to let y'all know about a gathering me and my folks are putting together on Saturday, July 16th. It's called Slapbox, a beatmaker's invitational and record swap. Slapbox is presented by the same folks who brought you the Eastside Record Swap. Imagine SJ, Needle to the Groove SJ, and Dad Bod Rap Pod. We are going to have live beat-making sets from Weezmatic of the Bangers, Tico, Mint Beats, and Some OK. There will also be a special performance by up-and-coming rapper by the name of Jake Gatsby. In addition to bringing together some of the illest button mashers in the area, we will also be hosting a record swap where vinyl lovers can cop fly shit from local wax purveyors. Come for the beats, stay for the breaks. It's Slapbox, Saturday, July 16th, 6 to 10 p.m. at the School of Arts and Culture in the heart of East San Jose. Did I mention this is a free event? Yeah, it's free, but the space is extremely limited. So go to bit.ly/slapboxtix. That's bit.ly/slapboxtix. Peace.
So Nate, my 17-year-old self is ecstatic about your CVE piece. It filled in so many blanks about a group and an artist in Riddler that there really wasn't much written about. Has there been another piece?
No, I mean, I'm sure they've been written about in various defunct magazines and things like that, but I don't think anyone has looked at them through a contemporary lens of their place in the hip hop world lately, or this compilation, which brings together some of their best work and is like readily available. Like you could order wax right now.
That's dope.
If
Very cool.
If you chose to do so. So yeah, that was kind of the slant I wanted to take on it. And I was expecting Fish to show up as well, but then he didn't. This all got arranged through third parties. I didn't start this. I was asked to do it.
Got it.
So
but there's other Fish, right?
A little different for me. Well,
Sorry.
and it's just like I wasn't sure how I was gonna address him anyway, so it was like
hello Ninja Fish.
Yeah, save that whole thing. Neighbor Fish, great to meet you. You know what I mean? So Rid was so cool. He's like sending me one of his tapes in the mail, and like yeah, it was in like a nice backyard on like a sunny Saturday, and we just like chatted for like 45 minutes, and it was great. It's I'm really into the compilation. It's nice to be listening to them and thinking about them again. And they're really, really, really good rappers, and their stuff doesn't really sound like anything else. So I was just happy to shine a little light on it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know I told you when this first was coming down, like, oh, if you have any questions, but then that's just not how we actually do it.
I know, and I'm like, whatever I'm gonna ask, Nate is gonna do something more insightful and better phrased. I'm gonna be like, yeah, y'all was rapping, huh?
Well, it's funny because somebody transcribed it for me, and when you get it back transcribed, I really see how I don't actually ask questions. It's like it's just statement. What do you think about that? Which I don't know how to if I should change it at this point, but that is certainly my interview style. So it was fun.
It's the NLB signature there. Yeah, definitely enjoyed it. In Wax Po.
That's on Passion of the
Weiss. Sorry. Yeah. On Passion of the Weiss right now. Check out Nate's story about CVE. Dave, you be writing. What you got some new heat.
Yes. I wrote the liner notes for the upcoming reissue. I think it has actually been reissued. Like I think it came out in June for Lab Cabin. So yeah, that was really fun. I'm really looking forward to holding the physical in my hand. You know, part of the reason I always just sign up to do these things is just because you get the little booklet, you know. So that's always fun to be physical. And yeah, you know, it always gives you a chance. I like doing liners because you kind of get a chance to reflect on an album, obviously, and to reflect on like early Dilla is fucking great. And you know, the making of the video drop and all that crazy stuff and how that went down and then sort of how their career disintegrated, you know, after that. Yeah. But yeah, really great project to be a part of. Really happy to see how it turned out. And yeah, man, I'm just really looking forward to getting it in the mail.
Did you try to write something that means something?
Nice.
When is it gonna drop? No. Wasn't informed.
Were you running to go get this assignment?
All day, folks. We got it all day. Did you find that the liner notes were at all informed by our conversation with Fat Lip? And I know that was a minute ago, but he did talk about Lab Cabin when we
I've interviewed Fat Lip a couple times and I didn't use any of our conversation with him though, unfortunately.
Okay.
I remember the conversation that we spoke to him about was a little bit more Bizarre Ride centric, but yeah, I mean, I just really gave me a chance to like reflect on the album again. I mean, it's such a fucking great album, dude, and I really feel like it gets overlooked because you know, Bizarre Ride is Bizarre Ride, you know.
Yeah.
And but this was like them taking a serious turn, and it was really cool to have a moment with it.
And then also we have that for folks who read Dilla Time. What song was it that introduced Questlove to the Dilla Dilla drum trap? I'm not sure if it was something that
I actually wrote about it in the liner notes. I can't remember the cut right now.
So that was a tease. You got to read Dave's liner notes. You got to read Dilla Time. But Lab Cabin holds an interesting place in terms of like bridging the old and the new and the introduction of Dilla in his sound. So yeah, you know, the bros is out there. Shit, I should write something. I'm gonna do I'm gonna do a ball-headed hose retrospective with Willie D.
What'd you say, D?
That'd be incredible. That'd be incredible.
You know what? Here's what I've been thinking about, and I'll workshop this here because we're doing the outro now. MC Light's Eyes on This, which you guys know of my deep reverence for MC Light's early work. MC Light's Eyes on This finally hit DSPs. I'm not sure exactly when it happened. They weren't there 6 months ago. They're there now. Yeah, when I'm kind of sitting around on a Sunday with like 45 minutes, I go, you know what? It'd be cool to like unpack this and kind of give people a sense of that album is more important than it is currently being held up as. And so I'd love to write about that and like talk to Milk Tea or something like that. That would be amazing. But you know,
I'll be happy to help set it up in whatever ways I can, man.
Absolutely. So yeah, maybe I'll get off my ass and write. But for now, you know, we gonna keep the podcast pod rolling. As you know, you can connect with us on Twitter at Bod Rap Pod. We are on IG at Bod Rap Pod with thirst traps already. So just just be ready. I got my login, y'all. So shit's about to change. And always you can connect with us. The best way to connect with us is at patreon.com/dadbodrappod. I hear there is a new Fly Sporadic in the works.
Nice. Almost done. Going for kind of a blown out 60s psych vibe on this one. Yeah.
Okay.
A rock mix. I'm kind of doing like a one for them, one for me kind of thing.
Okay.
This one's for me.
Okay. Which I feel like, what was the one that you did, Kim Quarter? Was that for you or was that for us?
That was for me.
See, I like that one.
Experimenting a lot with that one. I have some ideas for the next one. Actually, some of the new ELUCID tracks, I'm like, this would be perfect for camcorder. As there was an ELUCID track on the first one as well. But yeah, it's kind of like hip hop one, non-hip hop one, hip hop one, non-hip hop one.
Got you.
Yeah. So I actually have the next 3 left field ones planned out. I need to figure out a hip hop thing in between.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, stay tuned for that. Please subscribe to our Patreon, and we drop episodes every Thursday. It is the Dad Bod Rap Pod.
Yeah, excited. I need a little break, like just from the monotony. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And all the hardcore jams that have to be.
Yeah, I was going for it. I was winding up. A little bit out of control, huh? Cool to dance.
Thanks for watching that, and if you dug that, leave a thumbs up and say what up in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to Stony Island Audio for more.